Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology. This is the weekly forecast, part two. This is for the week of July 20th through 26th, 2026. I want to see that happen again. This week, there's a lot of transits going on, so I'm breaking the video up into two chunks. Video part one are the long transits and transits that are ending this week. Video number two, which is what this is all the new transits and the lunar cycle, including the first quarter moon in Virgo. And our special guest commentator this week, if you can see right there, that is Little Mittens. He's been climbing all over me all day. Unfortunately, two of his playmates passed on this week, so he's been very much out of it and very clingy. That being said, welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I am your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. This is Mittens on this shoulder now. There's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright, and no, my content may not be used to train AI LLMs. Keys to the reading part one. I read astrology differently. I start with constellation-based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal astrology. It's astrology by the visible sky because ancient times astrologers were astronomers and they read the planets where they were in the visible sky. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons around 200 AD in the Roman Empire. I have no interest in reading astrology for ancient Rome. I don't live in ancient Rome, neither do you. Sarcasm aside, I am reading astrology the way an ancient astrologer would you do it. Well, love my badly English. Using the visible sky, there are 13 signs. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius is the constellation of Fucus. The symbol is of a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. And the mythos is this person was ill. It could be a Fucus, Asclepius. I am looking for others. But they were wounded, so the gods taught them how to heal, gave them the knowledge to heal, and ideally they would heal themselves and then use that information to help heal others with similar wounds. So it's the symbol of the wounded healer. I use the natural size of the constellations. There are astrologers who attempt to, actually they do, try to force the constellations all to be the same size. They're not. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Fucus, individually, each one of those is less than 25 degrees. The constellations all vary in size, and I respect that and follow that. I also use astrological midpoints. Athens Chimenti noted that the IAU boundaries push stars into constellations where they are not. He noted this most heavily, or first noticed this with stars from Scorpio being pushed into the sign of Fucus. Didn't think that was right. So he looked at the zodiac belt. What was the last bright star of Scorpio? What's the first bright star of a Fucus? What's the halfway point? Pretty much everything winds up being where it's supposed to be. So I do like the midpoint system. I think it's more accurate. You could sit on my lap and scratch. You don't have to scratch on my shoulder. Give you more place. Keys to the reading part two. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says that these transits are lessons to learn and that you do have freedom of choice. You can choose the high road or the low road, and you can always change if you don't like what's going on. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. Dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I do live outside of Buffalo, New York. I'm operating within 1 degree of exact, and as you look at this week's transits, you'll understand that if I went wider, this week would be a whole lot more overwhelming than it is. So keeping things within 1 degree has us focused on what is happening immediately and most exact. The software I'm using is Capricorn by Prometheus, and all interpretations are my own. I do not use AI. There are astrologers who are doing that now. I refuse to. I will look at my notes. I will check my books sometimes, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I write out all my own interpretations. So this is your AI-free astrology. This is the week of July 20th through 26th, 2026. How often does that happen? Seriously, that's really cool. The sun will begin in Gemini and immediately move into Cancer. So, hello and welcome to Cancer season. The moon will begin in Virgo and end in Sagittarius. So, the moon will be steady in the beginning of the week, and then at the end of the week, it will be almost every day changing sign. So, it will be busier in this second half of the week. We do have the first quarter moon on Tuesday, July 21st at 6:49 a.m. in the morning. Our active planets for this half of the reading, it's really the sun. We do have Jupiter and Uranus covered in the first reading, but they are also active as well because of those longer transits, though the Jupiter transits are all ending this week. I did mention the sign change with the sun entering Cancer. And our long transits, we do have Neptune and Pluto, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. And Chiron is with the South Node currently, and we're adding in the North Node. Retrograde this week. Mercury is retrograde, but will be ending its retrograde motion. So we'll be ending Mercury retrograde this week. However, drop one, gain one. We will have Saturn entering retrograde this week, and I will cover that in addition to Neptune and Pluto. So let's go to our next slide. Doodle tool. Yeah, most of my cats are like hiding in my pantry, and there's a lot of weird noises coming in there. Just very weird. So as you can see, this dotted line, or oops, let me clear that out. God. This dotted line are transits, are the long transits and transits for last week, and that's quite a lot to cover. And to get through all that meaningfully and these new transits meaningfully, I decided to do it in two readings. So if you didn't want to, if you just wanted to get the new transits, you could focus on the new transits. So as you can see, we do have those long Jupiter transits ending this week. We do have the two Uranian transits, but for this reading, we'll be focusing on the sun. And as you can see, we do have 4 transits involving the sun. So we do have a focus on your core identity this week and who you are at heart and how is that affecting Chiron, your ability to heal, Pluto, inner healing and transformation, Neptune, your spirituality, and excuse me, Uranus, your individuality. In addition to that, we are adding Chiron with the nodes of the moon. So we will have the full Chiron working with the South and North node. In addition to that, we do have, I could throw Mercury in there because we do have Mercury moving station retrograde and in a sextile to Venus. And we also have Venus squaring Mars. My friend Dr. Danny actually does have a reading on that. In addition, where is that? That's this weekend right here. We do have Saturn moving retrograde right there. And in the middle of the week, we do have Mercury moving station direct. So, like I said, it's a very busy week, and trying to cover this all quickly would be a mess. I forgot to cover my lunar transits. We begin the week in Virgo, and we will have the first quarter moon on Tuesday morning. Sunday morning, we do have the sun entering Cancer. I think it's Sunday morning, but on Sunday, we do have that. On Wednesday morning, we do have the moon entering Libra. It's more later in the morning than where I drew it. Friday morning, we do have the moon entering Scorpio. Saturday morning, Ophiuchus. Sunday morning, we do have it entering Sagittarius. So it's really Friday, Saturday into Sunday that we have a lot of lunar transits. We get a different sign every day. You could go back to Wednesday and have that lunar transit. And as we were looking at these new transits, we do have that's the sun entering Cancer on Monday, but all our other transits really start on Wednesday. And as you can see, they build into Saturday and Sunday, we do get the avalanche of transits. During the week, they are It does hit us a little heavy on Wednesday. We do get one on Thursday, but really Saturday and into Sunday is when it is most, intense. So with that, let us, I gotta close this out, end the show. I did want to try to do the slides, but again, my hand is going numb when I use it too much. The fingers are. The OTPT is going really good as I can actually close my hand, and I'm getting to the point where the finger is the upper knuckle, which is where the worst scar tissue is actually starting to bend. So happy news there for anybody who wants to know. So let us begin. And I'm just going to jump it there because it does make it look a little bit better. We start on Monday with the sun entering Cancer. The sun is your core identity, who you are at heart, who you are becoming, who you are here to become at heart. So do look at that. And in Cancer, you're learning about nurturing and self-care. Cancer can also deal with healing as well, very similar to a fucus, but it is, I think, more of a healing by resting. And we sleep every night for a reason. Resting, nurturing, and self-care. So do focus on your self-care and healing your core identity through peace, quiet, and rest. And you can come into contact with your inner roots and forge deeper connections that way with who you are at heart. The shadow, the sun, falls into that false ego. Now, you did come here to learn how to have a healthy ego. The shadow of the sun is that false ego, whether it's over the top drama king, drama queen, or it's that dark star that's trying to hide away. And in Cancer, it becomes defensive. And remember, the claw, Cancers have claws, so it can be taking snipes and swipes at people, or it can be trying to pull away and try to be invisible and not be seen. So be careful of getting caught up in that false ego, being defensive, and what that entails. On Tuesday morning, let me clear this out. Close enough for government work. We do have the sun in Cancer being squared by the moon in Virgo. I swear it's 6:49 in the morning. I'll have to check. But we do have this on Tuesday. Now, the moon in Virgo is learning, I call it emotional intelligence, because the moon is your soul, it's your emotional self. And in Virgo, it's looking to see where it needs to improve and how it can get better. So as the moon is learning to become, your emotional self is learning to become more skilled in, I would say, emotional expression. How is that a square is a challenge whose purpose is to strengthen you? How is that strengthening your core identity and your ability to say, hey, I need to calm down and chill out right now? And learning how to express yourself appropriately that way. So how is that how emotional awareness and becoming more skilled in your emotional awareness, how is that helping to strengthen your ego and its need for rest and nurturing and self-care? The shadow, the moon, can become moody and irrational, and in Virgo, driven for perfectionism, unrealistic expectations. When it can be pushing for it and saying, I have to be the best, or it can say, I'm never going to achieve it, so why bother trying? The square becomes a crushing burden that fuels that false ego's defensiveness and creates all sorts of monster problems that way. Okay. Delete, close. Go. There we go. Wednesday, we do have, I'll just deal with it. Wednesday, we have the moon entering Libra. Time to take a pause, take a breath, take a break. Strengthen your ability to, whoops, wrong one. Take a pause, take a breath, take a break. And remember, the Libra is the scales. Scales, when you put weights on them, they go up and down. So it's going to be a time of a little paradox here, a little emotional paradox. Things don't have to make sense. That's fine. Let them be and learn to gain perspective. This is a very good word for Libra's perspective. Life can feel emotionally ambiguous. That's fine. The shadow here is, like I said, it's the scales. They go up and down and become indecisive and refuse to make a choice and let other people choose for you. And you get lost in everybody else's ideas, everybody else's information, and just things don't work out. Okay, I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to go to the end of the day here because it's going to, yeah, that's sort of making sense. Okay. We first have the sun. I'm going to clear, hold on a second. I'll pull this up just a little bit. There we go. Sun in Cancer in a square to Chiron, still in Pisces. It's like right there on the cusp. And this is going to be a square. Oops. We said the sun in Cancer is learning, nurturing, helping you to learn to nurture and care for yourself. You may look to your natal sun sign. Like I'm a Taurus. What does nurturing and caring for a Taurus sun look like? Just add another layer there. So as you're learning to nurture and care for yourself, this square challenges and strengthens you to Chiron in Pisces. Heal wounds, understand them from a higher perspective, and release them. So how can resting the ego, resting our core identity, nurturing care for it, being a healing and experience where you're actually releasing the wounds? The shadow here is getting caught up in the false ego and being defensive. The square is a stumbling block and Chiron instead of healing. You're wounding yourself more deeply, you're refusing to heal, or you're wounding others. But in Pisces, when we add that in Pisces, it's all the wounding is real, but you're living in this fantasy and trying to numb yourself to the pain of what you're doing and what you're experiencing. So fueling the false ego stumbles into more wounding and more pain and trying to numb it away. And the other transit that we have on Wednesday is Mercury does move, I believe it's on Wednesday. Let me close this out. Should be showing up today. Yeah, it's more exact right here. Oh, well. It is happening. Mercury begins to move station direct. So it's going to look, if you actually go out and you can see it, it'll look like it's stuck in the sky for 3 days. So this is a pause. What you're pausing on is you're pausing on and looking at what you've learned during the time of retrograde. What are you learning about? What did you learn about yourself and how you're using language, your ability to perceive things, and how are you defining your experiences in a more beneficial manner? Just because something bad happened or you experienced it in a bad way, how can that actually, what are different ways that you can experience these events and perceive them and learn from them? And look at how you're paying attention, interpreting information, and expressing yourself. Words have power. And I'm going to quote the Bible here. I do come from a fundamentalist Christian background, so I do refer to the Bible a lot because it does have a lot of good analogies in it, a lot of good information. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He spoke and it came into being. So your words create your reality. That's a good lesson of Mercury. How are you perceiving situations? How are you speaking about them? And what are you creating with your words? The shadow here is getting lost in your own preconceived thoughts and getting lost in the maze of your own mind, worrying about everything and also subjecting yourself to mindless chatter and rehashing everything you think you know. You're not learning anything anything new. You're staying stuck in old information, old knowledge, and ignoring the present world and present reality. And let's delete that. Close that out. Oh, forgot. I've got one more thing here on Wednesday. Come on. I did rehearse this. It's just these cats have been so stinking needy. I understand. They are very social creatures, and watching two of their friends pass on is a traumatic experience for them. So we do have Chiron in Pisces sextiling the North Node in Aquarius. Now, the thing here, as I said in my first video, Chiron has a 50-year orbit around the sun versus the nodes go around, I think it's 18.6 years, if I remember off the top of my head. So really, it's not Chiron triggering the nodes. It's actually the nodes of the moon triggering Chiron. So the North Node is your evolutionary intention, and it's a purpose in your life. So do look at that in your natal chart. What is your intention? What is your purpose? In Aquarius, how do you make this authentic and true to yourself? And as you're making that destiny true to who you really are, making it unique to who you are, that creates an interest in your healing and releasing wounds. You may be able to even understand the wounds from a higher perspective, which can also help you with healing and releasing them. So we're going to be dealing with this Chiron sextiling the South Node or sextiling the North Node and trining the South Node for quite some time, actually. The shadow here is, instead of you defining your life's purpose or destiny to yourself, you let other people define it, and you can do this by acting out and doing the most irrational thing. Oh, you don't want me to do this? Well, I'm going to do it, and I'll do it in spades. Or selling out. Oh, what is it you think I should do? Okay, I'll do it that way. Even though it's not, neither one of those is actually true to your original life's intention and purpose. Fuels worry, nervousness. That will create a deeper wounding of yourself and trying to numb the pain or escape it any way you can. And in the trine to the South Node, the South Node, ideally, you're becoming aware of the pointless drama and how you hold yourself back. But in the shadow, you're reliving the damage and drama of the past, and that fuels a deeper wounding and a desire to escape. So just to keep that all together nicely. And Thursday, I'm just going to go to the end of the day. Thursday, we have this wonderful Mercury. It is station direct and will be direct by the end of this, and a sextile to Venus in Leo. Oh, God. Wait a minute. Eraser. There we go. Doodle tool. Okay. We said the sextile is a sense of excitement or interest. Mercury retrograde going direct, where you're paying attention to and listening to and being aware of the world around you. How does this create an interest in your Venus in Leo? You're expressing yourself in relationships and paying attention to your relationships, sharing information with people. And also, secondly, Venus deals with the arts and creativity. And this is in Leo, so you're sharing this with the world. So what are you learning about your artistic ability, and how are you sharing that with the world? What have you learned about yourself and how you learn and communicate? How are you using that working with that and sharing that with other people? Mm-hmm. Now the shadow here, we talked about that. Mercury gets mentally rigid and defensive. and stuck in this mental rut of rehashing the past. Sextile is a sense of nervousness. Venus in Leo can be that slick and manipulative drama king or drama queen. So you're trying to use words to control, own, and control people. Not going to work. And with the arts, instead of creating real art, you're just being a copycat. Be honest, and you're just using. Yeah, with the people, I'm thinking of I work as a school librarian. We have the books that teach you how to draw, and you're drawing and you're using those to learn how to draw, but you never create anything original. You're recreating what other people have created and claiming it as your own. You're not learning anything new. You're just doing the same old stuff you've always done, not growing, not developing. Let's delete that. Close this. And on Friday, it's actually Friday morning. I'm going to stop there because there's only one thing happening on Friday. And that's the moon entering Scorpio, your moon emotional self. And in Scorpio, depth and intensity. So be honest with yourself. Be prepared to face unsettling personal truths. Situations can become emotionally intense. Know that you can handle it. The shadow here is that irrational, overly emotional self. It can get caught up in that rotten mood, complicating things unnecessarily, creating explosive and situations. And so there we go there. Okay, close this out. That's end of the day Friday. Okay, I'm gonna go end of the day Saturday. Actually, I'm gonna go here. Does that show up? No, not yet. It's not going to until we actually get into the. But on Saturday, two things are happening. First, we have the moon in Ophiuchus, emotional healing. It's taking time, take a break, learn to heal yourself, and be open to those who can help you heal and teach you how to heal. Remember, the symbol is of a person holding a snake by the head and tail. So you're learning how to heal yourself so you can heal others. Pay attention to the people who are trying to help you heal so that you can learn from those. It, that's the ideal, and you can serve as an inspiration for other people as well. The shadow here, refusing to heal or using the knowledge that you have to wound others and wound them deeply. The other transit, and it's right down here. If I were to jump to the end of the day, let me close this out. Whoops. Let me see it right here. Saturn is moving station retrograde in Pisces. So it's beginning. Saturn is about maturing. It's doing the work of maturing. And in Pisces, this is spiritual maturity. So this is going to be a season of reflecting on your spiritual growth, your spiritual maturity. How are you learning to be present and aware? Examining also your spiritual practices. How are you doing them? How are they helping you to grow and mature? And if not, what do you need to learn? What is it you need to learn? What is it you need to change so that you can grow and mature in your spirituality? Now, I'm not preaching religion here. We're all on our own spiritual paths. I do not preach religion. Whatever it is you practice, this is a call for you to reflect on your spiritual practices so that you can grow and mature in your spirituality. The shadow here is slipping into fear and despair, descending into failure based on what? Pisces fantasy and illusion and misperceiving of reality. I also call and refer to Saturn in Pisces as fundamentalism. You trying to force and control people to follow your spiritual path and do things your way. That's the shadow here. So if you find yourself pushing a rigor, pushing your beliefs on other people, you're missing the point of a Saturn retrograde. You're falling into the shadow. Okay, so there's that. And I'm just going to go to the end of the day, Sunday, because there's a ton of stuff happening here. I am going to start. So the moon enters, excuse me, the moon enters Sagittarius on Sunday morning. Emotionally, you're up for something new, fresh, interesting, and exciting. Get up, go out, new experiences, new opportunities. That's what Sagittarius wants. Um, to just give a contrast, Gemini sitting in the library reading about Letchworth State Park. Saturn says, let's get up, go out and hike the park and experience it. So Saturn wants to get up, go out and experience life and experience newness. Get up, go out, do that. The shadow here is falling into that, being moody, irrational, and stuck defending the status quo, getting caught and lost in isolation, and blinding yourself. Hold on a second. Hit that. Defending the status quo, getting stuck in a boring rut. I stepped into my solar transits there. My bad. Now, we're going to have a lot of solar transits here. The rest of the day, you can see 1, 2, 3 solar transits in addition to the Venusian, the transit of Venus. So I'm going to cover these solar transits all together first, and then I will go into Venus with Mars. So we're going to start with the Sun in Cancer, which we said was nurturing and self-care of the ego, your core identity. And that is in an opposition, which is a time of balancing and reflecting on Pluto and Capricorn. You're nurturing, Pluto and Capricorn, doing the work of transformation and healing. And it's specifically healing the soul. Pluto points out in your birth chart, Pluto points out where you have a soul wound, and the journey of Pluto is the healing of that wound. So here you're doing the work of healing the wound. And this is a time of reflection. So you're looking at the work you've been doing, how have you been doing it, and what can you do better? What can you change? And how can you get better at it? Also, it's a time of balancing. Are you balancing rest and the work of healing? Might be a time for you to take a pause here and just look to see what you're doing, rest the core identity, and then you'll be able to move on. The shadow here is defending the false ego, being defensive, and this pulls you out of balance. Pluto in retrograde becomes, instead of healing, deeply wounding, cynical, nihilistic, and lost in darkness, isolation, and loneliness. And this can have you blinding yourself. This can literally have you blinding yourself to what you're doing, blinding yourself to how you're hurting yourself, and leaving you feeling lost and lonely. That's part 1. Part 2 is a trine. So that's the opposition. This is a trine, which is a support to Neptune in Pisces. So as you're nurturing and caring for your core identity, how is that helping you in your spiritual growth and development? Neptune is retrograde here, so you're reflecting on that. So reflecting on your spiritual growth and development. So as you're resting, how is this helping you be present and being aware? How are you stepping into that? So focusing self-care, realizing core self can help support spiritual presence and awareness. I think the great lesson of Neptune and Pisces is don't just do something, be there. That's right out of Stephen Forrest's book. And I've heard him say that numerous times in the courses that I've taken with him. Don't just do something, be there. As you're resting, how is this supporting your ability to be present and be aware? It can actually help you connect with the divine too and become more spiritually aware. The shadow, living out of the false ego, being defensive, can have you living in idle fantasies and self-illusion and delusion, or trying to escape the emptiness of a meaningless life. Okay, I'm going to switch things around a little bit just to make things a little bit easier. And we're going to have this sun in a sextile to Uranus. again, your core identity, nurturing and taking care of yourself, how is that creating an interest in you finding the peace and strength from becoming your individual self and a more authentic self? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. The shadow, falling into the false ego, becoming more defensive, creates this sense of nervousness and worry. And instead of you being your authentic self, you're selling out or giving in to the expectations of others. And that can be that irrational bull in a china shop who's acting out to get a reaction from people, or that person who's out of laziness is just selling out to fit in and letting people trample all over them. And that's, to me, that's kind of the lazy response there. So you're giving, the false ego being defensive, either acting out or selling out your core identity. Clear all drawings. The last transit that we have, and I'm just covering it this way because it made it a little bit more easy. We have Venus in Leo, ouch, squaring Mars in Taurus. And Venus in Leo is you standing up and being seen in, number one, relationships. You're getting up, going out, meeting other people. Leo likes to be seen and appreciated. Venus, part one, relationships, your ability to connect with other people. How are you standing up and connecting with other people, and in what way? And also, secondly, Venus does creativity. How are you sharing your artistic abilities? And when I say art, in addition to the physical mediums or video or whatever, I also mean music. So let's make sure, I want to make sure that I get that in there. How is that strengthening your ability to have the courage to be at peace? Hold on a second. Sneeze. Okay. This little guy here has been sneezing a lot, and I'm not sure if I caught his cold, or I caught her cold, or she caught mine. But Mars in Taurus is the courage to calm down and chill out. So how is, as you're sharing with people, how is this strengthening your ability to be calm? How is this strengthening your ability to, my notes just zingered out here. Yeah, to find that inner calm peace and finding that calm peace and strength. And also how sharing your artistic ability doing that. How is that helping you find your strength and the peace and calm that comes from doing that? And this is strengthening you. As like I said, this also strengthens you as well. The shadow here, Venus can be slick and manipulative. In Leo, this is that controlling drama king or drama queen, trying to own, control, manipulate people. The square becomes a crushing burden, and Mars falls into fear. And this can come out as anger in Taurus, that's the bull in the china shop, or cowardice, you're just trying to hide away, be lazy, just go with the flow, let people push you around. But first, with that drama queen, also Venus in Leo is also about that the shadow of the creative artist, that artist who is not creative at all, doing the same thing they've always done, haven't learned anything new, but they're trying to present it as the latest, greatest thing, and everybody just doesn't get them. And that leads to a crushing burden of that anger and lashing out, or just being lazy and falling into resignation and not caring anymore. And that is our week. Close this out. Minimize. Slideshow, current side. So like I said, this week has a lot going on in it. Hope you found that useful. Do follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and you're watching this on YouTube right now. These three make billions of dollars off your data and are not sharing that much with you. I'm happy to say Digital Soul Space is going to a donations only model. It is now a free website. Sign up, create an account, and have access to everything. And kind of like PBS, the Michael, who does all the work on the site for free, just says, hey, people, let's make donations and donate what this site is worth to you. And if everybody, it's ridiculous how I say it's ridiculous, but amazing when you ask people when you set a price and you say donate, people hedge. But when you say, hey, what is this worth to you, and you ask them to donate, people are actually very generous. But I call it the spiritual safe space of the internet. There's a troll-free zone. It's a place where you can go and ask questions. I do astrology. There's other astrologers. People are doing tarot, oracle cards, mediumship, a wide variety, incredibly wide variety of spiritual practices. We also have some spiritual artists who are sharing their work, some really amazing stuff that they're doing and sharing, and four great moderators that keep the trolls off the site. And it's hosted on the Mighty Networks, which allows you to decide how your data is shared, etc. So do follow me on social media, like, share. I do offer readings. I have some packages. If you want to see how your chart changes from tropical to true sky astrology, get the six key points. If you want to know what your birth contract is, in evolutionary astrology, your birth chart is your end all goal. It's who you came here to become. I can help you understand that so you can act on it. And then there's the karmic chart or a past life reading. Why is this always happening to me? The karmic chart is based off the nodes, which is a life lesson you came here to learn and release. And I can help you understand what this pattern is that you're facing and then how you can release it. This can be from a past life or a special lesson. And I do horoscopes any 1 year, any 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, any 1 month. And there are people who do new moon to new moon. There are people who do first of the month to last of the month. There are people who say, give me the next 30 days. I'm good with it. I do have packages, and I do have summer hours available now through August 28th. I am available Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 in the afternoon through, I think it's 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. I can't remember off the top of my head. If you need me outside those times, I'm still doing my evening hour, 7 to 10 o'clock every night. If you need me outside of that, shoot me an email and we'll work it out. So thank you very much. Like, follow, share. If you jump on my website, you'll get a pop-up. All I ask is an email address. You get a once-a-week newsletter. It gives you all this information and more. Plus, if I give discounts, that's where you get them. So thank you very much. Like, follow, share. Remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much and have the best week possible.